Hello, everyone. Welcome back to She Thrives.
Hi
So
everyone.
this week, hi. This week we're sharing and like this is a subject we're really passionate about, and it's about why we shouldn't be calming down after 40. Busting these old beliefs that at 40 we should be living our lives in a certain way. And so yeah, we're really looking forward to sharing this with you.
Yeah.
Like Oprah, and she didn't start her show until mid 30s, and she's now, like everywhere and like massively famous. She actually, what was it now? She applied to do a TV show or a news show or something, and she got rejected quite like a number of times as well. But she carried on and carried on, and that was her dream to do this show. Samuel L. Jackson, apparently, he didn't have his first appearance in films, like a proper breakthrough appearance, till in his mid 40s. And Morgan Freeman was over 50, which is mad when you think about it. And they've been in
Yeah.
hundreds of films. So, and it's just like, just because you haven't made it yet, it doesn't mean to say you won't. And time is not linear, like you think you would do 100 films over a lifetime, but yeah, he's done it from the age of 50.
How
That's
old is he
mad.
now?
Don't even know. I think they're in their 70s. I was
Still,
just
that's
looking at
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just looking at like ages of most of these people, like I guess who I've grown up with, and they're in their 70s now, and you're like, no way. Like Helen Mirren, that Diane Keaton, they're in their 70s, and they're like, most women now look up to them and and well, they're, like everyone admires them for how beautiful and, like graceful they are or whatever. They're in their mid 70s, and they're
Yeah.
kind of actresses who have actually they're at the top of their game at that age. They're not falling out. They're like at the peak of their game. So I think like those are really great things to kind of change um mindset, because they're the kind of people everyone knows. And then I was reading about, because I was thinking, what about like fitness though? People who have done a marathon. So I actually where was it? There was some statistics in London. They were saying the oldest London marathon runner was 90, which I thought was
Oh,
mad. Yeah, like so, and then I was reading about Dolly Parton. Is she even still alive? Some of these people, they were saying how amazing they were, and I was like, they're not alive anymore. It's an old article. Can't say that. Like, how amazing are they? They're still alive. It's like, no, they're
yeah,
not.
they're
I
dead.
don't know. Dolly Parton. She was the only person I could find. Her and what's his name? Sylvester Stallone, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh
How
yeah.
they still do, like their weight training and whatever, and that's what they what's the word, attest that to why they're so fit and healthy. But yeah, Dolly Parton, apparently she still does weight training with a low carb, like fresh diet. How old is she? I think she's got to be 80.
Oh, she's got
So
to be at
anyway,
least.
those are things I found, and I just thought, like that blows your mind. Actually, it makes you think, yeah, it's totally doable.
Yeah. No, I think so, because I think as well, like with the whole clubbing raving scene, I think you should still be able to go and like, well into your 50s, 60s. Like definitely. I don't think just because you hit 40 as well that it means you have to stop going out. Like I'm always gonna be a raver. And I'm 42 now, still going strong.
People say, yeah, like I have my family say, but yeah, but you're 40 now. You can't, you can't do as much as you did before. You got to, do less and pace yourself. And it's like, is it though, or is it because I've just stopped? I've stopped doing the
Mm.
things I used to do, and therefore now I'm slower and, like less kind of inspired, to do so many things.
But I think that's it, to stay consistent. And I'm busier now than I ever was. I know it's like different because I got Isabella now. And that's another thing. Like people are like, oh yeah, you should be having babies once you hit 40. But I had her and I was only just 40. But like I remember when if I'd had like a sick day from work or whatever, when I was working in an office, I'd just be there just watching TV all day. I have literally not done that at all since she's come along. I'm doing stuff all the time, way more active than I was, even though I'm older than I was. I know things are just a bit different, but yeah, I just think like no, when when we go out. I probably do go raving more than I did. You know, not when I was at university, I was out every single weekend, but like definitely it's more of an event now, and it's more of like something that you make more of an effort, and then you sort of end up staying overnight, and it ends up being like a whole kind of weekend, you know, and it's sort of and we kind of go until like proper early hours of the morning. Um,
Yeah.
and I
But
think
that's
it's
the thing, I
just
guess it's like it's doing stuff that lights you up. So you'll make that effort because it makes you feel so good.
yeah, and even though I'm looking around and I'm like, I could 100% be these people's mum, I don't feel like I look my age. And maybe it is because I'm quite immature. I don't act my age. But I also don't think my mate Nick, what is he now? So I'm 42. He's probably 45, I think, or 46. And he's also an old school raver. And we all went out in Bristol like not that long ago. And he was like, oh, I've got to leave, I've got to go. This is just like, yeah, just to feel way too old and, you know, people just feeling judged. And I was like, no, they were like, they don't care.
And you
Like
know
people
what though, as
don't
well, it's
care.
like you're there to be with friends, to listen to great music and to dance. Why the hell are we worried
Yeah.
about what other people are fucking doing?
And
It's nuts.
also, the DJs are older than us. So that's who we've gone to see. So it's like, if the DJs, you know, if we're early 40s, they're late 40s, and you've got all these youngsters coming in appreciating their music, knowing that they're a lot older, I don't think age really comes into it at all. I mean, I don't know any other scene that's like obviously the like my scene. I've always found it's very like loving and welcoming and you know just like nice. Maybe it's different if you're in a different style of music. I don't know, but yeah, I've just never, and I think I'm going to be there when I'm 70. I'm still going to be at the front, raving my raving my little heart out. So I don't think you should stop, and especially mums, like you know, when people have kids, and then suddenly it's they don't go out anymore, or they just you know they sort of lost a bit of themselves, and that's also really important. Why you shouldn't kind of stop doing things that you love, like going out. So you should,
Yeah.
I don't think you should ever calm down just because you hit your 40s. So that's,
But I think it's interesting because we're in such a different world now to what we were, you know, like medically. The I guess in our generation, in our lifetime, when we were kind of, you know, younger in the 80s, the life expectancy was around like 80. Well, seven, but no, like, yeah, the life expectancy was around 70 and maybe even like lower than that because actually it was only in the 70s when you know like they were doing transplants and you know like we've had such amazing advancements in medicine in you know even though pharmaceuticals aren't great, they do help us a lot. They keep us alive. We've got a lot of things that are keeping us alive, and all of this knowledge now that we have, like our life expectancy is not the same as it was before. And I think there's this old mindset of you know like how we should be. You know, like with that expect when you had the life expectancy of 60, like you're going to live only until 60, then yeah, that makes sense, and you would want to have kids maybe at 20. But if actually the life expectancy is well, now it's coming on to 90. I don't know what the actual statistic is, but in my field, you know, in surgery, we're doing like hip replacements on 90-year-olds, which would never have been the case before. Because it's kind of like it sounds awful, especially in the NHS. It's like weighing up like, well, how long are they gonna, you know, how mobile are they
yeah,
anyway? Do they need a hip replacement or whatever? But you know, there's a likelihood that they could carry on for another 5 or 10 years. So, you know, like that it extends their quality of life. And so that's something I think is mental when you think about it. Like I remember
mm,
my mum used to have like real issue with her age, and I remember her turning 30, which is crazy. Like I guess I must have been about 10. And I just remember her like really we did this big like celebration, like balloons outside the door and everything when she came home from work. And I think she cried and she was just like in tears, not because of the nice surprise, but because she didn't want to be reminded of being 30. And her for
oh,
her being 30 was like, you know, halfway to, you know, your deathbed kind of thing. And it was like a really scary thing. And she says now, I can't believe how stupid I was then, like how, like, and that is the thing. I think we worry so much about where we should be and where, like the future. We don't enjoy the now. And so I just think, yeah, it's just this old mindset that a lot of it's been passed on to us that we should be doing this, we should be achieving that by that age. And then, yeah, like at 40, you should be settling down. And when you said about being immature, you're obviously not immature because you're holding down, a business, a child, all these things. You've got all these things going on. You're very mature,
Oh
but you're
yeah,
paid
but
for.
I mean,
But you
like
know what I mean? Like
yeah, like
people, that's again, it's
I still find farts funny, or like
but
people falling over funny. Yeah,
But you know what I
okay.
mean? I think that's like an innocence that we have stamped out of us, and we're told you should be this, you should be that, and we have to fit this mold. But actually, I think the people who don't and they're just their true self, like that's something, that's what keeps you youthful. I think it's when you try and force yourself to be a certain thing and you've got all this resistance in your body where you're like, oh, can't do that, mustn't do that. And you're kind of
Mm.
word, like going against like what your natural ways want to be. That's when you get old. That's when you age. That's when you feel shit.
Yeah,
Like when you can just be free, like no resistance, just whatever you are, like I guess within reason, like as in you don't kill people or do bad things.
yeah.
But if you
The
just
number
literally
one.
be free with your natural essence and who you really want to be and your playfulness and curiosity, like that's the people who stay young, I think.
You can change careers as well if you want to at 40. I think people think like once they're stuck, then they're stuck forever. But I know loads of people who have, they say the midlife crisis, don't they? That's about 40, where people well, it tends to be men though more than women, doesn't it? That sort of change or get a motorbike or a fast car. But I think actually people should, if you're not happy in your job and you've always wanted to do something, just follow your dream and just try it.
Yeah, when I
I
did
think,
the research into like what's the word, successful people who have achieved success in their later life, a lot of the ones who, like Charles Darwin was one, and then I mean this is totally unrelated, but what's his name? The one who does KFC, Colonel Sanders.
oh
Apparently
yeah,
he invented the recipe for that in his 70s, I think, which is mad. And so this Darwin, I guess he created a theory, didn't he? And I think that was in like later life, maybe in his 60s. And then there was someone else they said, I don't know, they're all mainly like inventors as well. Like I guess because you've had, you've stored up all this knowledge and wisdom over the years, and then you apply it, don't you, when you're older? You've just got this. So I think
mm,
that's another thing that we don't celebrate is kind of the milestones that we go through, like our human stages of evolution. Yeah, like at your 20s, you could like, you're buzzing around, you do all the things, and you could just literally, not sleep for a whole weekend, which is what I used to do for a few years, just partying like Friday to Sunday, which is bad, um, but very good, but very interesting, very
a lot of
fun.
fun.
But like, yeah, you just had energy, and that's great. You had the energy then, but then like 30s, you kind of, I guess you have more maturity of like, okay, so this is what I want. Make better decisions maybe, and then at 40, you let go of like realizing the external world just doesn't even. It's unimportant. It's the inner world. You start to go through these phases of yeah, like maturing, I guess. Like I know people who are in their 50s and they're like, oh my god, life is amazing at this age, if you can embrace it. And then I just think, yeah, like when you're then in your 60s, 70s or whatever, you just have this appreciation for life. You don't sweat the small stuff. Like, you're not bothered by the things you used to be bothered by, and then you just get this like really inner wisdom come through when you're older. But it's only if you embrace it, I guess. People who
Mhm.
resist it and they're like scared of it or whatever and they have the fear around it, then they're going to have all the negative kind of connotations around it. And that's where you do become weathered and withered and you just stay in the house and you moan and get negative and all of the rest of it because you're not embracing the turning of the stages.
Yeah. And I think what we said before, if you're not happy with something, a relationship or a job or whatever, then it's down to you to change it. And I think a lot of people, when they get in their 40s, they just settle and they just think, well, I'm not going to really get better at a job or, oh, I'll just settle, don't really love my partner, but we've got kids, or just settle, and it's sort of such a shame, really. But I think it's also, it's about like just keeping that zest for life, isn't it? And I think it is important to keep your friends and like go out with your friends and keep your, like keep that spark between you and your partner, just like little just things about being, affectionate still and just not losing yourself really, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, I know it's that, well, I was going to say, I know it sounds like fluff or like, but we are told it sounds fluffy to say certain things, but it is all about love. It's all about doing what we love with the people we love and like the more you do what you love, you light up. And like when you light up, it's that very, it's that buzz and like, oh my God, like you said about going out to your favorite music, even though you've got all these people around you who it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, they could be like they're the same age. Like I could be their mother or whatever. Like they're too young, and some people will not go out because of that. But it's like, if you can just let those things go because they're not even important, and you connect to the music and dancing, and all the like endorphins releasing, but like because you're just buzzing being there, like that's what lights you up. Like, and if you do more of that kind of stuff. So what I'm saying about with the love thing as well, I was reading recently, like evolution, like so our human evolution, when mammals are born, like what do they say, like birds or whatever, they'll be nurtured, a little chick, up until a certain point, and then like the parent will just throw it out the nest, and it's just got to learn to fly. And you'll have some mammal animals or whatever species where they'll leave their eggs and they'll just go, and they don't need to tend to the eggs, so that those infants have to just fend for themselves straight away. And so like they've got their kind of evolutionary what do you call it, conditions that keep them safe. So suddenly like they just know how to deal with it. They've just got this inkling. Whereas if you left a human baby on its own, it would die.
Mm.
It can't fend for itself. Like we're not evolved like that. So our evolutionary not got the words right for this, but like our what do you call it, what we have in order to keep us safe and keep us alive is the bond between a mother and, well, parents and the baby, which the link to it is a hormone that's released, which is oxytocin, which is his love drug. And apparently like the mother has like a massive release of this. So they say unless they have like a mother who's just had a child, if they've got some chemical imbalance in their brain that hasn't released, the bond isn't there, and that's when you can have that issue. Otherwise, when they say like the baby can come out looking really ugly, and like I guess sometimes babies don't look great, especially when they've got all their like what do you call it, the momentum, like their poo basically or smeared around them, and the mom's just like, oh my God. But you have that kind of real strong bond, like you can't leave the baby, and like and that is our evolutionary instinct to do that. And apparently the father has like 70% of this like what do you call it, like overwhelming feeling of love, which is this oxytocin. And so it's like that's how were born, that's how we were brought up into this world. That's what we need that flood of love all the time in order to be at our best. So if you're not doing the things that make you feel love, like you say, being with your partner in that specific loving way and being around friends and family, and then doing what you love, if you pull yourself away from those things, what's left? You're like you're going to wither and die. That's it. Like you
Yeah,
haven't got the component that keeps you alive. So it's like there's this what it's almost like the secret to life. Like the way that we live and thrive is to have love, because that is our evolutionary kind of imprint, if you like, to keep us alive and to help us thrive. So
yeah,
I guess that's it. It's just like, and you go into a drum and bass thing might not be, someone's idea of fun if they love classical music, but like you'll both get the same buzz if that's what you really love to do. And something that I've realized as well, like I used to go to hard house clubs, and that was just my thing. It's crazy to think, like, 'cause some people hate that kind of music, but for me, I've been listening to one of my favorite DJs is Fergie, and I was listening to him recently, and the instant like a song drops, and something go like it just sort of lifts my heart. Like I get this just like elation feeling. And I was like, what? You know what? I don't even need to go clubbing if I just don't want to. Like, but I should be dancing to this more, just at home. And I was getting ready yesterday playing this music, and I was just like, oh my God, it feels so good. And it really lifted me. So, just think like, need to do more of this. And it doesn't need to be in a certain way or labeled in a certain way. It's just like, just do it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like we got so on YouTube, there's D&B 360, and they have like all these wicked DJs on there, and they do like hour sets, and it's obviously you can watch it, um, and it's so good, and it's you just all the tunes, and we will watch that rather than TV because Isabella loves it as well, so she loves a rave. Her rave, and she's just like oh, and then like just starts wiggling, and it's great, and then we all can just have a little rave, and so we've kind of brought our love for the music through to her because I think it's important that she doesn't like watch Steve movies all the time, um, and likes music. And that's what she was born to as well. So when I had my C-section, we were allowed to have drum and bass mix on. So we had it was it
Nice and
was
tranquil.
yeah, I know. It was a bit weird, but yeah, it was amazing. So because I do Fight Club as well, that's drum and bass. So when I was pregnant, she was just be listening to drum and bass all the time. So she's just sort of used to it. I think she will be
It's
a
always
raver because she's spawned from us.
But that's the thing. I mean, I guess we don't necessarily stay with the music that we were brought up with, but it helps you then have an affinity for music, and then you just find your own way, don't you?
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, I remember some of the like stuff my mum used to listen to. Oh my God, I was just like, yawn. This is so, but it was like typical like 80s stuff.
Yeah, mine as
Um,
well. Who was that ginger guy?
oh,
Mick
I
Hucknall,
know
was
you
it?
mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God,
Yeah, so
my
you,
what used
you
to
don't necessarily. But I was
love
thinking
him.
you are a really great example of someone who you have kind of orchestrated your life to bring in those elements that you really love. You love that scene. So I mean, I guess I did similar. You love that scene, but you're not going out partying like a punter, if you like, all the time. But you've weaved it into your work. You've brought in your personal training and like exercise class type of thing into having that music, but then also again your favorite DJs to be part of it, like you creating this whole event, and you've immersed yourself in it, which is amazing. And that your radiance and how you're buzzing when you do those, that's gonna what's the word, like stream across to the other people, and that's why you'll have people wanting to come, and you're fully booked all the time and things. It's because
Mm.
it's that people feed off your energy. And I did the same thing. I'm so grateful with the cacao because it allowed me to kind of be part of the experiences that I absolutely loved, in a way that like I am still there, but not there as a punter anymore. Like, so for example,
Yeah.
Glastonbury, I'm able to be there every year in a different capacity, but then I dip in and out, and I do my partying, or go and see bands and stuff, and then I go and have my tranquil area and do my cacao. And even like the rave scene as well. I was doing Morning Gloryville with the cacao, and we had like all the DJs like Basement Jackson. I can't even think, like Mark Knights as well. He used to be an Ibiza DJ. He did one of those, and it's like a sober rave with amazing DJs like techno music and all this different stuff. And it was like, how amazing is this? I've made this happen like in the way that it works for me. And I think, yeah, like there's always a way. And I think if you can find that way, that sweet spot, like
Mm.
life is just going to be just an adventure all the time.
It's such a good idea doing those morning glory, those sober raves. And that's kind of what Fight Club is, a healthy rave, that fusion of like, music and fitness, and also raver tots that you can take your kids to. So then
Yeah, I've
as
seen them.
parents, like you get your fill of, so I've seen Nikki Black Market there, I've seen, I think it was Slipmat last month, just all these wicked DJs that then you're like, oh, this is awesome. Like I get my little fill and it's banging, and I can take my daughter with me, and then yeah, you can just sort of go home and then you're not hanging for the next week.
Yeah, I mean it's all the plus points, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
you realize as well, you don't need the alcohol or whatever. Like you are feeding off the energy of being there. So yeah, I think that, yeah, it's all areas, isn't it? It's knowing that, yeah, okay, so you may have had a health issue, but it's not saying that that's always going to be the way, like it's about busting the beliefs that this is how it is now, it's how it's always going to be. There's always, our brains are so powerful, and they basically instruct our bodies to do whatever it is that we want to do. So yeah, like you say, like having a career change at any age is possible, because it's about just utilizing all the kind of resources that you have within yourself. So at 70, you'll be better at certain types of work or certain industries than you would have been at 20. Do you know what I mean? Like, I guess at 70, you'd be a great professor. You could be a great writer. You could be a great, I don't know, whatever. Like, there's a lot of things you'll be able to do better. Great speaker or coach or therapist or whatever. So it's just about reframing, I think, how we see our lives, isn't it? Like, and actually, like, this old school mentality, you were saying about we should have a job, for life, kind of thing. That was the industrial time
Yeah.
thinking. The industrial revolution, around that time, that thinking started to change, but some people have still kept it, and I guess we have been conditioned to think that way at sometimes, when actually it's not a good thing to keep in one place, because you then like de-skill and you become contained. So yeah, like every belief that we have, we should be kind of like really looking at it and reflecting on it, thinking, is this what I truly believe, or is this something that's been handed to me? Is this something like my parents have said, or even our grandparents? Things can rub off on us, like, I don't know, my nana always has like beliefs around like weather and stuff that actually I hold on to, and you just think, this isn't what I believe, it's just what I hear a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's just about flipping them and just being like, is it, and also it's like, okay, so yeah, I do believe this, but do I really want to believe this? Does it serve me? Is it empowering me? And if not, what do I want to choose to believe? Like, say for example, the marathon thing, like the idea that there's a 90-year-old doing it does make me think, oh, like I wouldn't, maybe I should do that, like just to prove to myself. And then like it's something that I would never like to do. It feels like painful, hard work, a lot of dedication. And so I started shut down at that point.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's about thinking like, but how much of that is mine and how much of that is what maybe my mom would say, because like I know that's the kind of thing she would say. And yeah, because otherwise we'll end up like limiting ourselves in our lives without realizing it, and it's other people's stuff that is limiting us.
Yeah. I just think like with age is just a number really. So I just don't think that you should have to calm down when you hit 40. That's
Absolutely
my
not. I think
that's,
it's a new layer of life, isn't it?
yeah. I think like I mean I've had loads of fun in my 40s so far. It's been amazing. And
Also,
yeah,
I think the people who have this belief of like, well, you should calm down when you're 40, what are those people doing? How are their lives going? Are they happy? Because that's what I think. It's about looking at like, how happy are the people who have these feelings, because they're projecting their beliefs on us.
yeah,
And when we talked about this originally, I was saying how when I used to go clubbing, I mean, I started clubbing when I was 16. I was very young. But it found me at the right time. And you know what? It was a time when I was very closed down and I was going through a lot of shit in my life. There was a lot of just hard things going on. And it gave me like a release from that, just to go out and just dance. That's all I did. And I loved it. And meeting like-minded people. And it's very playful. Like, we used to dress up in the scene I did, and it just was fun. It was really playful, and it's what I really needed. Anyway, like, there was an old couple who used to always be there, like, so it was a weekly thing. Every week everyone used to go there. It was like a community, and that's what I really realized, that's what I really loved
mm,
about it. And so it was always familiar faces, like, oh, how you doing? You might have had a really hard week, but then everyone just lets go and is just there and having fun and chatting. And yeah, this old couple used to be there every week. And we used to be like, oh my God, how old are they? And like, and people, so they recently, someone posted, like flashback pictures of these times, and this couple was on a picture, and there's so many comments, oh my God, I remember them, and they like name them. And like, when we were looking at them, we used to think like, God, they must be in their 80s or something. When you're younger, you just assume people are really old, but
yeah,
actually they're probably in their 30s or 40s, but it just seemed that old compared to it. but I don't think they were. I think they were like they were grey, so they were in their 50s, 60s. But they used to have such an amazing time, and they were just happy people. You know, they were just so embracing with the moment. You know, for whatever reason they were there. And actually, like as much as it felt weird, and it kind of like you just think, oh, I don't know about that. I don't know if I'd like my grandparents to be here, and that's kind of the belief you
Yeah.
have. It used to like it inspired me. Like they're having an amazing time. They don't care. Like so, I can do the same thing. And another kind of experience I had was traveling. You know, like I lived in Guatemala for a bit, and there were like older like people I knew who were one guy we called Santa because he literally looked like Santa, and he was in his 80s, I think. You know, he had big white beard, and he always wore like a beanie hat, and he was so wise. He had so much, love to share, and he was like everyone loved him. He was like this person who connected to everyone, and he just chose to, what do I really want to do in my life? Where do I really want to be? What's going to fill me the most? And he chose to do it, and it was traveling. And he was so active. He was always like, there were massive hills you used to have to walk up and down, and he was just so active. And that busted my belief of, you can't, how old you need to stop traveling kind of thing. And that, like you can be just as active as you were in your 20s when you're 70, 80. It's just a mindset and to just keep going. So I think,
Yeah.
yeah, there's examples of this all around us. It's about us, I guess, observing it.